I've worked on programs most people will never hear about. I helped build the F-35, the most advanced fighter jet on the planet. I worked on the X-59, a supersonic jet designed to break the sound barrier silently. I've worked hypersonic weapons development, and now I'm part of the team building New Glenn, Blue Origin's orbital rocket. I'm not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you because everything I know about leadership, I learned in rooms where failure wasn't an option. And nobody is teaching that in the rest of the world. I didn't start out thinking I was going to get a job at Skunkworks. I've been all over the country. I started out in West Virginia working on the C-130 program. I moved to Fort Worth, Texas, and final assembly on F-35. And after I met a bunch of different, absolutely incredible people, the opportunity came to me to work at the legendary Skunkworks. But you say, what was the path to that? I can only point backwards. I can't point forwards as far as what were the steps that I took. But in all that, I identified a couple things that really kind of set me apart. Number one, I came from an area that people didn't expect a lot out of me. Coming from a rural area in West Virginia, I was driven and motivated to go do more. And because I was open and willing to do things that most people aren't, as far as moving state to state, making connections, and learning about leadership as I've been developing, these are all contributing factors that I've found that made me open to receive. And when you are always open to new opportunities become apparent to you. I think that's how I really made it to the pinnacle of R&D in the world. And I believe that if you want something bad enough, you can go achieve it. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm here to talk about how the leadership aspects have changed and grown. I'm talking about being in the rooms where some of the hardest decisions you will ever have to make were made by real men and women that are the absolute best at what they do. And those hard decisions are what change and shape you into the leader you're going to be. And I love the fact that I had the opportunity to work with some incredible leaders. And I've learned what drove their decision making. And I think applying some of these practical applications are ways that you can learn, especially with my channel, The Leader's Toolchest, and how you can adapt these tools in practical ways into your life. When you walk into a program like the F-35, you recognize immediately these are not normal people. These engineers, these leaders, they have all been refined by absolutely unbelievable pressures. They're some of the best that I've ever worked with as far as dealing with complex problems, finding creative solutions, and dealing with absolutely immense pressure situations with schedule, cost, you name it, these people are absolutely doing it, and they are the best at what they do. I watched decision makers make decisions that were worth billions of dollars, hundreds of aircraft. I watched teams solve problems that have never been solved before. And I noticed one thing. The people solving the most complex problems, they were strong leaders. They had an aspect and an understanding of how important their decision making and how crisp and clear their decisions had to be made in order to get the results they were trying to get. These are outstanding aspects to be able to understand, but once you see them in person, it changes you forever. The moment that changed everything was about a couple months into my F-35 final assembly experience, and I had broken quite a few aircraft as far as we had mission critical systems that just were not working correctly, and I'd come to a point where I didn't understand how to make it better. And I pulled my manager aside and I said, "Boss, I don't know if I'm cut out for this." I said, "I've built all kinds of things before. I've never run into an issue like this, like nothing's cooperating." And I will never forget what he told me. He said, "If you had the ability to go check every one of these aircraft when they're coming to you, would you have picked any of them?" And I said, "Absolutely not. They were all in different configurations, they all had their own challenges, and none of them really had a chance for success. And he said, Keith, that's why you have to be the man. And that just hit me. He said, nobody's coming to save you. He said, you have to be the leader to these people in the midst of all of this. And it struck me as such an incredibly strong moment that I couldn't see it. We were always going to be given whatever we were going to be given, but it's defining how you choose each and every day. That's the difference. That's the differentiator. And that was a very powerful moment for me. And that was a turning point in my career. After that, I was emboldened. And I still look back to that moment to this day and say that was the moment I became a leader. I'd been a supervisor, I'd been a manager, I'd been all these other things, but at that moment, titles no longer had their hold on me. I realized that I needed to rise above the title and become the leader that everyone needed. And after that, that's when my career really started taking off. Like I said, I ended up getting recognized and moved out to Skunkworks. I'm currently now a senior manager for Blue Origin, working on the New Glenn rocket. And I contribute all that to one good conversation with my manager. And I'm still good friends with him. I think it's amazing the people you get to meet out here on your journey in life. And from a leadership aspect, I think it's important that you recognize when you have really good leaders because there's so few of them. So next chance you get, recognize the leader. Wow, you're doing great things. Just give them encouragement because you never know what they're going through and experiencing. After years of working on the most advanced development programs in the world, I kept seeing the same pattern. Technically brilliant people promoted to leadership roles with zero tools for the job. They could design a hypersonic weapon, but they couldn't have a hard conversation with a team member. I built a leader's tool chest because of the leadership frameworks I learned in those rooms. They work everywhere. They work for aerospace teams, and they work for startups. They work for anyone leading people who can't afford to fail. That's why I'm here. I'm not a professor. I'm not a consultant that read the right books. I'm someone that spent years working in some of the most demanding programs on Earth, watching what works and what doesn't when the stakes are as high as they get. Every video on this channel is a tool from that chest, tested under conditions most leaders will never face, but applicable to any team, any industry, and any challenge. If you lead people or want to, you should be subscribing. Because what I've learned building fighter jets and rockets applies directly to what you're doing right now. Let's get to work. Have a great day. Thank you.